Welcome to Know Your Money, where we will explore our relationship with money and how the psychology of it impacts our financial decisions, as everyone thinks about money differently. In our podcast, we'll be presenting a variety of financial topics in an easy-to-understand way, which we hope will assist you with managing your money. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Know Your Money. Craig, Warren, how are you today?
I'm good. And you, Warren?
Very well, Craig. Bronwyn, also giggling again.
Yes, I'm very good. I just love your actions. I can't wait for people to see. And we've got Rob back today.
Hello, guys. Hi.
Hello, Rob. Nice to see you again.
You too. Yeah. Great to be back.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Thank you for being here. I'm really enjoying the series. I hope everyone listening is too.
I'm also enjoying it.
Incredible. And another C comes up.
Yes.
Oh, collaboration. Collaboration is our C for today.
I like this one.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. And
Is that teamwork, Rob?
Yeah, and I suppose it talks to the fact that, two minds are better than one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it might seem unusual in the context of a professional-client relationship, because financial planners are professionals and clients supposedly are, let's say, lay people or, not as qualified when it comes to finances. So to suggest that it's a collaborative process and a collaborative decision-making process might seem unusual. But I think it talks to the fact that all your clients at the moment are human beings. I mean, we never know with AI where it's going to get to. And the problem with human beings is that that we're faced with choices every day, all the time. And the question is, how do we make those choices? What are sort of optimal choices for us? And I really like what Professor Albus Dumbledore said. Do you all know who he is?
Yes. Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, yes. And his advice to Harry was, it is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are far more than our abilities. And I'm sure you've got clients that probably reflect that, that some clients have made good choices and have got good outcomes and others not. And it's not necessarily a function of wealth, or status or anything. It's just a function of those decisions. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel as financial planners about the idea that potentially it's better for your clients that you collaborate with them rather than you just tell them what to do. How does that sound to you?
I think that's what we do every day almost. You discuss it with your client and you both come to, because you can't say, this is what you should, what you should do, and they probably do know what they should do as well, but it depends on what they really want to do and how you can both unpack it together as a team and say, right, this is the plan as a team, and we're going to work together as a team to get to your ultimate end goal and to make sure that on the way, that if any mishap does happen, that you're covered for that.
Yeah.
And I think it's collaborating in what it is that you do want, and not necessarily having to compromise certain things, but to come to a consensus that, okay, that is truly what I want. I'm not compromising something else for it as the client.
So I think collaboration is fundamental to pack animals, and I would call us pack animals, because if you look back to pre guns, pre all that, pre cities, pre all that, when we were living as wild tribes, the reasons humans were able to survive is through collaboration. I think it would have been highly unlikely if you went out on your own amongst wherever you were, the grizzly bears, you weren't going to survive. You had to collaborate to survive. And there are animals that do that as well to thrive. You look at wild dogs when they hunt, they collaborate.
Yeah.
So I think collaboration is fundamental. And so if we bring it now back to what we're here for, which is financial planning, the more eyes you have looking at something, working together towards a goal, can only better it.
Hi everyone. If you would like to get a copy of Rob's book, The 7 Pillars of Financial Health, we have shared a link in the bio with the web address as well as a discount code you can use. The book retails for 375 Rand excluding delivery, and with this promo code you will pay 370, which includes delivery. Alternatively, you can find the book at exclusive books or other bookstores. We would like to thank you for listening, and please remember to like, subscribe, and share the podcast so that we can bring on more exciting guests like Rob to help you with knowing yourself and knowing your money.
Yeah. It's like the tennis analogy of doing it on their own?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we spoke about the fact that, Novak Djokovic is, the leading Grand Slam winner amongst men's professional tennis players. And he's always worked with a coach. And in fact, Wimbledon finished a little while back, and I was struck by how many people were in his box who were part of his team that were helping him. And I actually write about it in the book to say that he's a very good tennis player, but he's not as talented as Nick Kyrgios, who's an Australian tennis player. Yeah. He's incredibly talented, but just refuses to have a coach. And so is never going to win a Grand Slam. He played Djokovic in the final of Wimbledon last year and lost, but he'll never win a Grand Slam, I don't think, just because of that, because he's not acknowledging, as you say, that we're pack animals and we can't do everything on our own. And so he doesn't have a coach who's helping him find his blind spots, who's being curious about, what's going on for you? What happened in that point? How did that work? What, how come your backhand seems to be not as effective as it was in the previous match? He doesn't have that sort of sounding board, person holding up the mirror, and he's just not going to be as good as Djokovic is. And I think that's true to all aspects, as you say.
I think the collaboration ties into last week's episode with curiosity, because only through collaboration will maybe somebody question something that you haven't questioned.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've actually got a great story on that. A friend of mine who lives in the States, lives in Chicago. They went on holiday to Jamaica for a warm holiday. Came back. Because Chicago in the winter can get...
I've been there. It's very cold. It's very cold.
So they came back from holiday, and then after a few days, sort of started feeling ill, and got sicker and sicker, and the doctors just weren't able to diagnose him. They still couldn't work out what was wrong. They were trying to give him antibiotics, and went into intensive care. And they thought that he had dengue fever or bilharzia or whatever, and they were treating him for all the usual suspects, and he and his organs were starting to collapse, and his, as you can imagine, his family were at their wits' end, and one day his wife bumped into a family friend in the corridor in the hospital who was a doctor. And he was working in another section of the hospital. He said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "Well, Andrew's, he's basically on sort of his last legs." And this guy started asking her some questions and said, "Did you guys go swimming in Jamaica?" She said, "Yeah, I did." And said, we swam a lot, but it wasn't stagnant water. And then he said, "What was the weather like when you were there?" And she said, "No, well, it was actually quite rainy. It rained quite a lot." And then he said, "What do you think the chances were that the rain might have washed water into areas where you swam?" And she said, "Yeah, definitely it did." And he said, "Well, gee, that's interesting. As a matter of interest, did Andrew have any skin that was broken?" She said, "Yeah, he actually had a cut in his back." He said, without hesitation, "I think he's got leptospirosis, excuse my pronunciation. It's a rare infection caused by rodent feces or urine.
Sure.
That is, when it's washed into the water and humans drink it or swim in it, they run the risk of getting this. So it can either go in via your mouth or through broken skin." And so sort of literally rushed to intensive care. Treatment protocol got changed completely to treat for leptospirosis, and he survived.
Incredible.
But the point of the story is, to your point, Warren, that it required collaboration, it required curiosity.
Yeah.
So he was curious. He was asking questions that the other doctors hadn't asked. Nobody asked what the weather was like, whether it had rained. And so he was using his expertise. So his questions were being informed by his expertise, but he was being curious, And I think that sort of talks to the power of collaboration and of curiosity,
Incredible.
Because as you say, it is a remarkable story, because he would have died if that hadn't happened. And I think that the same is true of your world as financial planners, Bronwyn and Craig, that you are in the privileged position of being able to ask questions with expertise, But the challenge here is to be willing to collaborate with clients, and I think that's, because as you say, Craig, what's probably needed here. You need income protection.
Yeah.
But if I get told that I need it, then I might not. I've got to realize it myself.
Yes.
How can you help me realize it? Well, you can collaborate in conversation with me. You can prompt me, be curious about me.
But that story is incredible because it takes away the blind spots. You're going down a path, you think that's the right path, and you don't think of all the other permutations that could have sorted that out.
Exactly,
and I think all of us do that as well.
Yeah.
You go down one pathway and you think that's the only pathway. It's not.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you chat with your client and collaborate with your friends anyway, anything in life like that, you can find a solution to anything.
Yeah.
Incredible how that.
Yeah.
And often I think people think that they can do financial planning on their own. And it's not to say that you can't, but having collaboration just makes it that much better, makes you think about things differently.
We'll only improve it. More sets of eyes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose the reality is, as Albus Dumbledore says, we're a product of our choices. And the problem with our choices is that we've got sort of multiple influences on our choices.
Yeah.
And I sort of like to say, the obvious ones are our personality. So, we each have a different approach to decision making depending on our personality. And so to what extent is that helping me or sabotaging me?
Yeah.
I'm a procrastinator. I need my financial planner to kick my butt, But somebody else might be very action-oriented and they actually need the financial planner to say, hold your horses there, So that's one. The second one, which we've spoken about before, is this: we all have a unique relationship with money. So I might be behaving in a certain way, making choices because I'm compensating for something in my early life or whatever. And then the third one, which I like to talk about, is what I call the Bermuda Triangle of financial behavior, which is basically that because we're human and because we're pack animals, we're very prone to social pressure, as in terms of making decisions. So the classic standing around the braai, I bought this share, it's gone up 20%, or I bought crypto, probably more like it, and so therefore you're influenced by that. The second thing we're influenced by is the fact that as human beings, because we are flawed, we've got cognitive biases. We haven't really talked much about how the brain works, but very simply, our brain works fast and slow. And you might have heard of that book by Daniel Kahneman called Thinking Fast and Slow, which talks about the fact that we are wired to think quickly. It's important. So when the saber-toothed tiger came along and chased us, we jumped up the tree to get away. That was quick. You don't want to think about it. But we do have a rational brain that actually ideally would be better for making financial decisions, where you think things through and slow down. But the problem is many of us make quick decisions based on our sort of intuitive sense and don't think things through. So, Craig, you used the example in the previous episode of 2008 markets fall. Clients want to go to cash.
Yeah.
That's their sort of intuitive brain, quick thinking brain saying, I want to be safe, put me into cash. Whereas actually the rational brain, if you think it through,
you're safer.
You're safer.
Yeah.
But that requires a collaborative process, because you don't want to just respond to that knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And then the other one, obviously, is the emotional responses. We all get very emotional. And how can you help me? So I like to say that we have this Bermuda Triangle of financial behavior where, money goes to money heaven, as an ex-colleague of mine used to say, because we give in to one of those forces. And I think that how do we overcome that? Well, a collaborative process where, as a client, I need my financial planner to help me slow down my thinking, not make these new knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative process.
Yeah, and understand your relationship with your money.
Absolutely, yeah. And understand my personality.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't realize what we're doing or what impact it's having. Yeah.
I get why you put our career up there with medical right now.
Absolutely.
The loss.
Yeah.
No, there's a huge amount. Absolutely. I put it up there for a couple of reasons. One is the complexity of what you're dealing with. You can either treat a human being as just superficial, see the behavior, treat the behavior. It's a bit like with kids, see the behavior, treat it, or there's a whole lot of depth below that if you engage it, can shift that behavior.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. And then the other part, obviously, is, as we all know, that because medical is helping us live longer, our money needs to last longer.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so therefore, it's critical how we treat our financial planning. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's very true. The living long, it's not just living longer, it's being able-bodied longer.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I remember when my grandparents were like 65, they weren't that able-bodied anymore, and they weren't unhealthy. They ate good food. That I don't know what it was, but with now, my dad's that age, and he's running the Oxpeck. He's doing all sorts. There's
Yeah.
no problems.
No, there was somebody in their 70s there were two guys, I think, running their 50th comrades this year.
Wow.
Sure.
In a row, 50th consecutive comrades.
How are their knees still there?
I don't know how you do it. But apparently neither of them did it. Well, they didn't finish. They sort of got to 60 of them, but they want to do it next year, as I understand it. Yeah.
Okay.
Extraordinary. Yeah.
But just definitely, you need your money to last longer now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think this was a good collaboration of conversation. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Take care. Yeah. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this podcast, would like to subscribe, please visit our website, www.growthfp.co.za. The information we have provided in this podcast is our personal opinion. For more detailed information, please discuss your financial situation with a financial planner.